Welcome back to the Catch Some Soulshine podcast. I am Renee Bova, and each week I intend to bring you a heartfelt message of my journey of transformation. I'm a person who has suffered significant losses, including my son, my adopted son, my grandchild, and my dad. What I want to share with you is snippets of my life and other people's lives that have awakened brilliance after life's darkest moments. But before we get started, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to the channel, share it with your family and friends. Please give me a rating. That helps this reach more people. And I know that if I can overcome the life tragedies that I have experienced and live an abundant, joyful, fulfilled life, you can too. So grab a cup of coffee because it's time to catch some soulshine. I am joined with Kelley Tyan, and I think I found her on LinkedIn. She's a very spiritual person, which of course drew me to her. And we're going to have a heartfelt conversation about all things spirituality. And I want you to introduce yourself to everyone. But remember, rate the podcast, share it with your friends, give me a comment.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Dawn. It's really a pleasure to be here and excited for our conversation already. Behind the scenes was already so good, and just pray that it inspires and empowers the listeners to just keep climbing. That's what my brand is called. It's called Addicted to the Climb, and it's really just about, I've always had to find my strength in my faith to keep climbing in life. I've been through a lot of things like many of us have throughout the course of my 50 years here on earth. And I just know that I've had to climb my way out of many dark places. And I've had to lean on my faith in order to do that. And I made that my business because I realized through the ups and downs of life, I always just knew that women, I work with women primarily. I've been coaching women for years, but without faith, it's very hard to wake up in the morning. And I made it my mission to help women deepen their faith, not only in God that I serve, but in themselves, so they can continuously climb through the peaks and the valleys and be okay and have the peace that God really wants for us. So that's really what I do, and my mission and my passion is really just to be a voice for women so they can find their voice.
We have similar paths because
Yes.
with the life circumstances that I have encountered, it's been a purpose of mine to help other people through the darkness. And something that you said that really piqued my interest was you said, God, light, love is with us through those peaks too. And I've encountered some people that they have this scarcity mindset, or they don't feel right about, being successful. I think that we're meant to flourish. So that what you said is something that we don't talk about a lot on this show, but I think we should.
Absolutely. I mean, God talks about finances all throughout the Bible. I think I just learned that he talks about wealth and finances over 2,000 times. He talks about money more than anything else. And I know that he wants us to flourish and have
Yes.
finances and be successful, because Dawn, if we're not, how can we make the impacts that we want to make? If we don't have the resources and the money to do these amazing things that a lot of us want to do in life, we're not going to create those ripple effects, because that's what I think it's about. It's creating a ripple effect, and we need money to do that. So I know what you mean though when you say, I know women, I'm catering to women right now because I work with them, but they do. Some of them feel, oh, I shouldn't charge that much, or
Yes.
I don't know. And they get caught up in that. I know I did for a long time.
Yeah.
I did
Same.
myself. I will share all of my weaknesses, and I have come a long way, let me tell you. But I remember saying, oh, what I do, how am I going to charge for that? But God gave me my voice, my
Mhm.
gifts, my skills that are different than yours, different than the woman listening right now. And we can use those gifts to help if we're using them and putting the time in developing these gifts to help others. Well, that can become our income stream. And then we can
Mhm.
reach more people and more people. And so we have to charge and we have to make money and we have to use our finances well at the same time.
I do not believe in any coincidences anymore. Just the fact that we're talking about money, I've heard this is like the 3rd time. Joe Vitale said something about it, and then Doris Wren said something about, how the Bible speaks about money. What is true is money isn't the root of all evil. It's it's the love of money,
So,
okay? So
yes.
what is your purpose?
Mhm,
That's the bigger picture. We all, every single person has a huge purpose in this lifetime.
mhm,
We're all created to do something. And that word creative is really big with me because after Brad died is when I really started diving into my creativity, the
mhm.
art. It's funny you mentioned this ripple effect. I have a club called the Ripple Club.
Wow.
Yes.
No
Yeah,
coincidences here.
yeah, yeah. So we ripple art out into the world, and I
Wow.
gotta tell you, it's been such an incredible experiment because I was in Atlanta a few weeks ago, and I handed this envelope to this man, and I said, "You've been rippled." And then he replied back. He looked at the QR code and he replied back and said, "Here I am just standing here, and this complete stranger comes up to me and hands me this beautiful piece of artwork." And he said, "I had to go outside to compose myself because I'm a 45-year-old man who's had a couple suicide attempts." He said, "I've come full circle and I've come to appreciate life. And you don't know what just a small gesture like that can do for somebody." I
Mm.
read that and I'm like, I was at a huge conference. I'm like, I got to find this guy, right?
Yes.
I went back down the next day. There he was.
See, that's a
There,
divine appointment.
yes.
Mhm.
And there were thousands of people there. When you're open to receive these
Yes.
messages and
Mm.
these inspirations, they're gonna come.
Yeah,
But like you said, it takes work. It
it does.
takes practice.
And
Have
courage.
you Yeah. Have you ever read the book Atomic Habits?
Half. And I
Yeah.
sometimes go back and skim through it. I love
Yeah.
that book. It
Yeah.
is truly eye-opening.
Yeah, and he was talking about just doing something small every single day.
Yes.
Then you don't have to think about it. It's like natural, you
Exactly.
know? Get up, make your bed every day. What I started doing is, 10 sit-ups every morning.
I'm a fitness girl background. I love that.
So, I'm like and so now it's almost like natural. Okay, I get up, make my bed, do my sit-ups, go shower. You don't think about, "Oh, I've got to go shower. I've got to brush." You just do it, right? And that's what these little habits become once you do them over and over and over.
That's how I created my prayer life, to be honest with you. I was
Yeah.
searching and I grew up very faithful. I had a mom who very spiritual, loved the
Mhm.
Lord, but I needed to find out on on my terms in with
Mhm.
me, it was between me and God. We all
Yeah.
have different relationships with him, and I started seeing the joy she had in her life and the peace, and she had a rheumatoid arthritis, really, really, it was awful from when I
Mm.
was born. So I watched her and really just suffer in her physical body, but her mental state was always peaceful. And I was
Mm.
always blown away as a child, knowing she had faith, but I wanted what she had because life, is hard as you grow up and you go through adulthood and it's very hard at times and you go through things. And I started doing what you said. I started I watched her always praying in the morning. And so I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to actually be intentional and pray until it became part of me. So that's my go-to. And that's, I love that you brought that up, because even as far as praying, making that
Mhm.
a habit in your life can make tremendous transformation in your mindset, the way your outlook, when bad things happen, when traumatic things go wrong, you can still find that peace, what we were talking about before we pressed record. So
Yeah,
making prayer a habit, and we can always start something new and good in
right.
our lives, because
Yeah.
life is too short to live in
It it
activity
is. And
and
in
that.
the recovery community, they say pray in the morning and pray before you go to bed.
Mhm,
And meditation was something that I struggled with, like, especially after going through such grief. Like,
mhm.
I
Yes.
couldn't keep I couldn't keep my mind still. I couldn't sit still. And that's where creativity and painting came in for me,
Mm.
because it allowed me to sit down, be still, be in the moment, and just exhale. One of the things they taught in the recovery community is people would say, "Oh, I get out of bed and I forget to pray and blah, blah, blah." And they like, "Okay, put your shoes underneath your bed. And then when you get out of bed, you've got to get down on your knees to get your shoes out. That will be
Really?
your cue to do some prayer in the morning." And I'm telling you, if you get into that habit of prayer every morning and you forget for whatever reason one day, you notice. It's a huge difference in your day. Now, the great thing is you can reset at any time, right? Having that habit is imperative.
And I love that you said that, because just over the last few years, maybe year and a half even, I started getting on my knees first thing in the morning. I never did that. But
Mhm.
I heard people talk about it, and
Yeah.
I'm like, why do I have to do that? Sometimes you wonder why,
I
or
did the same thing.
what's going to be the
I
difference
did.
of that.
Yeah,
But let me
right,
tell you, when I remember, I'm not perfect at it, but when I
right.
remember to first thing when my eyes open, get on my knees and just be grateful that I can breathe,
Mhm.
that I woke up today.
Yes.
The simplest thing. We take it for granted. But when I get
Mhm.
on my knees and I'm like, ah, thank you that I just woke up out of a warm bed. Thank you that I have air in my lungs. It just sets the tone for a beautiful morning, no matter what chaos is going on in the house, and if you have kids running around, or you're just grounded differently.
Yeah.
So if you're not
Yes.
doing that, people, try it. I'm telling
Mhm.
you, the women I work with, I share that often when I have a new client, or we just talk, developing and deepen in their faith. And it's a beautiful way to start the day. It
It
is.
really is. Yeah.
Yes,
It truly is mind-blowing how much of a difference that makes
it
to
is.
get on your knees.
Mhm.
Because I was the same when you were saying that, I was like, "I can talk to God anywhere. I
Right.
don't need to get on my knees, I can do it." But I'm telling you, there's something about it. I think it's more intentional.
It
You know what I
is.
mean?
Yes, you're
Um,
focused, you're intentional, you're not
yeah,
just walking around or in your shower and doing,
yeah,
500 things. You're
exactly.
more focused, you're more intentional. It's very much about surrender. Don't you feel
Yes.
you're almost like, "Okay, I'm doing this. I'm surrendering to God, and it's a beautiful, beautiful just way
Mhm.
to start the day."
And then the same with the meditation. I'm a
Yes.
huge advocate of meditation, and people are like, "I can't meditate." And I'm like, "Turn on the fan. Just
Yes.
try and concentrate on the fan." Or
Yes.
there's all kinds of those, sound bath things on YouTube. Turn on one of those, and
Exactly.
just listen
Yes.
to white noise,
Yes.
and it does. It makes a huge difference to
It does.
quiet your mind. What made you decide to switch from the fitness industry to this type of ministry that you're doing for women? Was there something that made that decision for you, or
I lost my mom towards the 11th year of fitness. I was kind of losing my drive. I was like, it was beautiful. I loved coaching women. I loved helping women get fit and strong mentally and physically. So it was a beautiful experience. But after I lost her, I had a very hard time personally. I was an only child. She was my best friend my whole entire life. And I just was devastated. And as I was feeling that way, new gym owners actually came in to the gym and bought out the gym and said to me, we're no longer going to have you at the gym anymore. You can find another gym, because I had rented there for 11 years. And so I didn't own the space. So they came in, and then COVID hit. And I
Mm.
knew God had a plan for me.
Mhm.
Wasn't sure what, but when COVID hit, I got real quiet and I had to get into prayer because I didn't know what I was going to do. But as I said in the beginning of our conversation, I knew I had a voice, and I knew faith is my foundation of how I wake up in the morning. Without faith, I don't know where I would be in my life from many things that I've been through. And I just being in deep prayer through COVID, I ended up writing my first book called Addicted to the Climb, which is just 30 personal stories I wanted to share to empower people with courage and strength to just keep climbing. And then I started a podcast. I still didn't know where it was going to go. And then God just kept working with me and sending women to me, and I began coaching them, but I began coaching them more spiritually because they had a shaky foundation. They didn't know how to get back up and climb. I've been speaking, and then it turned into my business today. I do a lot of speaking and coaching and events, things like that to really, and I wrote my second book.
We have so many parallels. I participated in 2 books as well. The first one was Creative Life Book, and the second one was Radical Self-Love.
Beautiful.
The first thing I did online with, I have a coach that helps me in the artist world. You could pick like trees, and it's called Rooted in Faith. So
That
when you said Rooted in Faith, I'm like, I
I
like her.
know. God knows, and he brings his girls, I say, together all the time.
Mhm,
I meet so many women along, from LinkedIn, and
mhm.
it's amazing who God aligns us with, and it's all
Yeah,
him. He orchestrates everything, and it's
yeah.
again, there are no coincidences, so
No. And when
beautiful.
you were talking about, this group of women that you mentor, there's really something special about community. And
Oh,
that is one of the beautiful blessings that COVID has brought to us because
yeah.
you can have a community of like-minded women that are across the world that you've
Yes.
never physically been in contact with. I have some of those. They're like my soul sisters.
Same.
I've never met them physically, but energetically,
Yeah.
lovingly through the internet, it
Thank God
is.
for technology. As much as I
Yes.
don't like it at times, I'm so thankful because I have also met some truly remarkable women that I am very close with over the last couple years from LinkedIn. I love
Mhm.
being on LinkedIn. I feel that's the platform that really is more about community for me personally. I don't know about you, but LinkedIn has just been a blessing in my life.
I've had a LinkedIn bio forever, but I just started dabbling on LinkedIn, and I am meeting
Going
some amazing women.
Mhm, and at some point, we're all gonna come together, right?
I've heard that we're entering this era of femininity and
Yes.
women as powerful beings. We've kind of, let's face it, been kind of not diminished, but you know what I mean?
They're rising
Um,
up. I know what you
yes,
mean. I feel the same,
yes.
and I feel a lot of faith women are rising up very
Mhm,
strongly because
mhm.
people need faith, they need hope. There's a lot of
Yes,
discouragement out there and defeat, and, I think people are turning more to faith than ever. You know,
yes.
and it's so meaningful, and I love watching it. I love watching women just use their faith to inspire and empower other people that you're not alone. That's the way it's going. You're right.
It is. I like how you use the word faith because, of course, I grew up Christian background, but I have a lot of soul sisters
Yeah.
that have different faiths. We all kind of mesh together.
Yes.
It's the
Yes.
core.
It is. It is, and that's it. No judgment. I feel without faith, people do perish. They don't have
Mhm.
anything to hope for.
When did you lose your mom? Or did she pass or
She passed of a sudden aneurysm, and it's going to be
Really?
this year. This month will be 7 years. Which feels like forever sometimes, and then it
Mhm.
feels like it was yesterday at times.
Yep.
'Cause she was all my girlfriends wrapped up in one person. She was the most amazing
Yeah.
thing in my life, and she was here at 7 and gone at 7. It was 7 AM, 7 PM. It was very hard for me. If you lose your child, your mother, a sibling, it's until you go through it, you really don't understand. At one point, I was losing my faith, I do have to say. I was very
Mhm.
angry, of course. I was frazzled and everything. I couldn't stop crying. It was awful. I've never felt so shooken up in my life. And I
Mhm.
knew, though, I couldn't stay there. There came a
Right.
point, I think I cried for 3 months straight, and I didn't leave, and I was very thin, and I lost weight, and I isolated. I didn't do it the right way, not that there's a right and a wrong, but I wish I
Mhm.
reached out for help a little bit more. I wish I talked
Mhm.
more. I wish I asked people to just sit with me, and I didn't do any of it, which is pretty surprising of the person I am. I was crumbling, and that's
Mhm.
what Addicted to the Climb really the core is climbing your way out, making a decision when I was getting scared because I was starting to have panic attacks, and I had to go on medicine, and I couldn't stop. My legs would shake, and I knew that He didn't leave me, and I wanted to just lean on Him. And then I made the decision I had to start climbing. I had to start
Mhm.
putting clothes on in the morning, going outside, going for a walk, talking to God more. And that's really how I really pulled myself out of that ditch.
One of the things that I really firmly believe in and try and teach other people, and this helped me tremendously, but no matter how bad I was feeling, I would try and say, "Who am I helping today?" Even if it's just a kind word or a kind gesture.
So good.
Service is such a huge part of my recovery and pulling me through that darkness because, like you
Ah,
said, there's no way around it,
mm-mm.
only through.
Yeah.
And service to others was a huge rope for me to
Yes.
help guide me
Yes.
out of the darkness. And it's really still part of my life
Mm,
as yours, you know?
yes.
It goes along with your purpose. And even if somebody's not an entrepreneur, you can still be helping people. And I
Absolutely.
remember when Brad passed away, I used to call him all the time and we'd talk and I'd say, "Well, who you helping today?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, help this lady with her groceries." And he used to go to the dog shelter and walk the dogs and yeah, I met this really cool dog today and
I'm writing this down. I love that.
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
ask my kids, "Who are you helping today?"
yeah, who you helping today?
What a simplistic,
And
simple,
yeah,
simple, simple thing to do, and it doesn't
yeah,
have to be massive. It can be
no,
anything.
anything. When
Beautiful.
he passed away, I was given the most beautiful gift that a mother could ever have. I had that they mailed me this binder with all these handwritten notes from all his friends, some of the counselors that he had worked with, and they
Wow,
all wrote these notes about Brad.
amazing.
Some were funny,
Yeah.
some one girl told me how he encouraged her to keep going and I
Mm,
had another young man say that, Brad is responsible for my recovery and yeah, he helped a lot of people and I
wow.
kind of as much as I hate that he's not here, I wish he was here,
Right,
right?
right.
Um I feel like his purpose was served
Mm.
in his short
Yeah,
time here.
amen.
Yeah, and same with your mom,
Yeah,
you know?
it's almost like where she left off, I took over, and I love that because people tell me all the time, "You're following in your mom's footsteps so much." And
Uh-huh.
it puts such a smile on my face.
How can people find you if they want to, dive deeper into their faith and maybe work with you as a coach or
I
whatever in
would love that.
community?
Yes, absolutely. I have a community through my book called The One Prayer. So I have my One Prayer community. All of my information you can follow me on LinkedIn. It's just my name, Kelley Tyan with an EY. And you can go to my website, addictedtotheclimb.com. And there's a lot of free
Awesome.
resources, ways to work with me. And I would love to just be in touch with some of your listeners. Reach out, say hi.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on. It's kind of crazy how I just meet people that I've never met before,
Mm,
never had a conversation with you before, and
mhm.
I feel like I've known you for quite some time.
That's a
Mhm.
God thing. It's a God
Yes,
thing.
it is.
Yes.
Is it odd or is it God?
I love that. I love that. It's that's perfectly said.
Thank
Perfectly
you
said.
so
Thank you.
much, and
Thank you for
I
having
am
me.
gonna have all your information in the show notes too, so they
Okay.
can just click on some links and find you. I look forward to your comments because this was a good one. I'll see you next week. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey of transformation and growth. I wanted to thank you personally and invite you to download a free journal that I've created featuring some of my art. And if you'd like a free print from my Rooted in Faith collection, please go to dawnreneebove.com and I will drop links in the comments. Hit that bell if you're on YouTube and subscribe to the channel on Apple or Spotify. Leave me a rating because that really does help expand the reach. Keep catching that soul shine. I'll see you next week.